Breaking news, a new twist in the 2024 election, polls, battlegrounds, and a political wildcard. Good evening viewers, the latest numbers are in, and there's a new dynamic shaping the race. Our fresh poll with Ipsos now shows Kamala Harris pulling ahead, holding a 4-point national lead over former President Donald Trump at 51 to 47. That's an increase from a 2-point lead just weeks ago. But don't be too quick to call it a runaway. Things on the ground are far from clear-cut. Zooming in on the battleground states, the picture tightens dramatically. According to our 538 polling averages, Harris leads, but by an even slimmer margin than before. Trump has gained traction and is now ahead in 5 of 7 key swing states, all well within the margin of error. And looming over Harris's campaign is President Biden's stubbornly low approval rating, holding at just 36%. Early voting reveals surprising shifts. In this election, early voting could be a game-changer. Over 41 million Americans have already cast their ballots, a significant surge from previous elections. Interestingly, more Republicans are voting early this time, a shift from 2020 when Trump discouraged his supporters from doing so. In Michigan, early voting numbers are trending Republican, with 39% of ballots now coming from likely GOP voters, a noticeable jump from 4 years ago. In Arizona, Republican turnout has even outpaced that of Democrats. However, many of these early voters are habitual participants in every election, meaning the final outcome remains uncertain. It's likely that the key voters who will tip the balance haven't voted yet. Could the polls miss the mark again? Nationally, Trump is sitting at 47%, nearly identical to the 46.1% he achieved when he won in 2016 and 46.9% when he narrowly lost in 2020. It underscores just how precarious the situation is. If polling errors repeat, as they did in 2020, the electoral map could swing dramatically. A few percentage points either way could make the difference between a narrow victory and a decisive electoral college win for either side. If Trump's support is underestimated, he could end up with 312 electoral votes. But if the polls are underestimating Harris's position, as they did for Democrats in 2022, the map could flip in her favor just as decisively. It's the kind of uncertainty that makes an electoral landslide in either direction entirely plausible. Inside the Trump rally, a polarizing scene in Madison Square Garden. Let's turn to our chief Washington correspondent, Jon Karl, who was on the ground in New York City at a Trump rally last night. Jon, what did you see? Viewers, it was unlike anything I've seen in 2 decades of covering Trump. Madison Square Garden was packed, wall-to-wall supporters who waited hours just to be a part of it. Their devotion to Trump was absolute. I can't recall any Republican figure pulling off something like this in a traditionally Democratic stronghold. But it was also one of the most unsettling rallies I've ever attended. The energy wasn't just about love for Trump, it was fueled by resentment and grievance. Much of it was tinged with racism, sexism, and hostility toward perceived enemies. The New York Times called it a carnival of grievances, and that description fits perfectly. What stood out was that the rally wasn't designed to reach new voters or broaden Trump's base, it was an affirmation of his most loyal followers, feeding their sense of persecution and triumph. What's the campaign's strategy going forward? Trump's team isn't hiding their confidence. According to Jon, multiple conversations with Trump's inner circle over the past few weeks reveal a campaign increasingly convinced they are heading toward victory, and they've made it clear, if they lose, they'll claim it was stolen. This narrative is being laid early and carefully, setting the stage for a potentially volatile post-election landscape. With just days left until Election Day, the stakes have never been higher. Polls are tight, early votes are in flux, and both campaigns are bracing for a fight that could swing wildly in either direction. Will it be Harris riding a wave of quiet Democratic support, or Trump rallying his fervent base to another stunning win? As it stands, this is anyone's race, and the outcome may not be known until every last vote is counted. Stay tuned.